ABC, what's going on? I gotta look and see here. Is it Friday again? It's Friday again. May 2nd. Making sure. Yeah, it's Friday, May 2nd. Yeah. Boy, after my gig, it took me all of yesterday to kind of get right. I'm still a little. Sometimes I get this weird kind of dizziness. And then it goes away. But it's here today. It was here yesterday, so. Anyway, I'm moving the lamp. Sure enough, somebody recommended Geico. You say something and they will respond. No, I'm not bothering to look at it. I just paid it and it's done until it's owed again. Maybe I'll look at it then. It's just, to me, the way the world is such a ripoff. Insurance is a ripoff. It means nothing to me. Nothing. I just pay the money and go. Does it give me peace of mind? No. What a stupid concept, insurance. What a ripoff. I want to share something. It's music related, but it's life related too. I'm listening to O&S. Orenda Fink and Cedric Lemoyne. What was that band that Cedric was in? It's skipping my. They were okay, but Orenda Fink is a friend of mine in the band. As she was in the band Azure Ray and Haruki Zombie. I just love her. Yesterday, I was laying in bed because of the dizziness, and I get a call in the afternoon, and it's one of my old bosses from the job that I retired from, that I walked out on, Community Alliance, a community-based rehabilitation center for adults. I worked there for 27, going on 28 years when I just left. My boss Dana called because, at the insistence of one of our clients' families, I still will say my clients, these people. I work with some of these people from their childhood. Jack, she called to let me know that Jack, I won't say his last name, but Jack's family insisted that they call and let me know that Jack had passed away. And Jack is someone who I had worked with for probably 20 years. He was someone I knew for 20 years in the mental health business. He was older white guy. Jack was a upstanding Irish man coming from a good Irish Catholic Omaha family. If it had not been for Jack's illness, he would have been a very successful businessman here locally. He had everything laid out for him by his family, his parents, and his schizophrenia just devastated all of them. It's a real thing. Jack was in his 70s, and I need to tell you a little bit about Jack because it involves music. When I first started working with Jack years ago, we bonded because as I got to know him, he was regular at the rehabilitation center that I worked at, and he ended up in housing that we also provided too. So I got real close to Jack and watched his son grow, among other things. And his son is still in touch with me now, actually. His son was trying to arrange a time when I could go see Jack in the nursing home he was in a small town in Nebraska, and it just didn't happen. Jack wanted to see me one more time, and it just didn't happen. But Jack was schizophrenic, bright man, but schizophrenic. Any of you folks that understand mental illness will know what I'm talking about when I describe the illness. Jack would have these psychotic breaks where he would just take off. He would just leave the city. He would just up and leave with nothing but the clothes on his back. He did this several times throughout his life, before I met him and also while I worked with him. But one of the stories he told me that endeared me to him is that he said he had the psychotic break once in the 60s, and he ended up in San Francisco. He said not only did he end up in San Francisco, but he ended up waking up in Golden Gate Park in the middle of the Love-In. I said, whoa, this is history, Jack. Talk to me. And he was there, and he just described it to a T. And he loved music. Jack loved music. He was big into the music of his era, our era. I consider it mine, even though I was a youngster. Crosby, Stills, and Nash. Neil Young. He was huge into Neil Young, the Beatles, Eric Clapton, all this stuff. And I just want to share a couple more things about Jack because it relates to music and it relates to my headspace and the things that I say. Because a lot of things that I say aren't just ideas. They're based on things I've seen and experienced over and over and again in life. Jack was schizophrenic, but he came from a really strong Catholic family. And I watched him and tried to be helpful with Jack struggling with trying to follow the strict dogma of his religion. And that really made it much more difficult for him to deal with the symptoms of his illness. Because people didn't understand because of dogma, you know. Some of you people know what I'm saying. But I had several neat experiences with Jack working with him over the years, but a couple of really special things stand out, and this is, I think, partially why the family got a hold of me. When Eric Clapton finally came to Omaha, I don't know when this was, sometime in the 2000s, Jack really wanted to go, and Jack was a handful. He was, a wonderful man, but he was schizophrenic and he had symptoms, and he would act out at times. And when you saw Jack, he would do things you would never expect because he looks like he looks like a priest. Not a priest. That's not even a good one because priests have showed their real hand. And he looked like the kind of guy that would run like a neighborhood business that everybody loves, But because of his schizophrenia, he would end up doing inappropriate things. So he really wanted to go to Eric Clapton, but no one was going to take him from his family. And even though I didn't really care about seeing Eric Clapton, actually I said, well, I'll take Jack. What's in it for me is I'll get to see Eric Clapton. I don't care about his music. He bores me, but he is one of the icons of rock history and is important to me. So I said, I'd take Jack. So the family's saying, well, we'll buy your ticket and everything. And I said, well, you can't buy my ticket because I can't accept gifts larger than $25, So I bought my own ticket and I took Jack. And it was memorable. For me, it was memorable to see the fact that I got to see Eric play in live. I got to see Billy Preston live before he died. I got to see Steve Gadd on drums play. Those were the highlights. And then the other highlight was being there next to Jack, taking in what this meant to him, because he was on cloud 9. And they play Wonderful Tonight and all these songs that if I was a regular guy and romantic, these songs would mean a lot to me, but they kind of turned my stomach because I'm almost anti-fake romance, And Jack's in tears and shaking and stuff, and just means a lot. He would not have seen Eric Clapton. No one was going to take him. And then it happened again. John Cougar Mellencamp came to Omaha, but that wasn't the deal. Donovan was opening for him. And like I say, Jack was he was a hippie. He was a love child, And so when this happened a few years later, I said, oh, there's not even thinking about it twice. Of course I'm taking you, Jack. So I took Jack to see Donovan. We saw Mellencamp too, but that was nothing. John Cougar Mellencamp was nothing compared to Donovan. John Cougar Mellencamp worked hard, but his music is boring as fuck. Just boring, okay? Love him as a human being. He's telling the American story. To me, it's like because of the nature of what I do, it's like that don't interest me. So there's the musical part of it. Jack loved music, It was neat to talk to my boss, my ex-boss, because, she told me, that they think, she thinks about me, they think about me all the time there at the agency. And she said, all those things you said were coming true. Those predictions, they all came true. And I said, I didn't want to be right, Dana. I just kept trying to tell you and other people what was really going on. And all you guys would try to do is feed me this false hope based on the fact that somebody's making money, and if we stay in our place, then they'll make their money. But I was there to help people. I was trying to do something. It meant something, So that was neat, that wasn't neat that Jack died, but it was neat to get the call from Dana and to talk, And I wanted to share that with you, Another thing that happened on my job, the place I worked at was a community-based rehabilitation center, which means Community Alliance was a mental health center that was not a therapeutic place. It was a rehab center. We worked in conjunction with hospitals and psychiatrists to help people manage their illness and stay out of the hospital. We also provided housing. We helped people get jobs. We helped people with school, all that stuff. And I worked in several departments of the agency before I left. When I worked in the day program, which was, basically like people going to, at its worst, people said it was daycare. And I refused to allow it to just be daycare. I was teaching and rehabbing and encouraging and getting people involved in the community. I actually started a television show for cable for the folks, gave them their own TV show, took them down and took advantage of public access when you get cable, and had a bunch of folks learn how to run the studio. And for years we had a TV show about mental health issues run by the clients, and they were the talent, they ran the cameras, and they were the reporters. As I got busy with stuff and couldn't stay devoted to it, it fell apart. But besides taking Jack to those things, there was a time when I could get free tickets to the opera and to events in Omaha, and I would load up the van and get other staff and let's take these people. I took people to see Miami Sound Machine. I took my people to see Firefall. I took people to see Natalie Cole in concert. I took my people to see Henry Mancini in concert, I took people to the opera, to the symphony, The idea was to try to help people have a real life, One of the last things I said to Dana in the conversation is, I said to Dana, I'm struggling financially, but I'm so happy, and I have no regrets leaving that agency because I see what's going on. And she told me some of the latest stuff. And I said, it's so sad, Dana, that you are so locked down in procedures that you can't even help people, even less now. You're even locked down in even more procedures about how you chart and make notes that you can't help nobody. She grudgingly admitted it's the truth. And that's why I was there. I needed a job, but I was there for real. I wanted to make a difference. So there's that. If you're still with me, right quick, I got some more Kleeman albums in. I got another shipment of Kleeman in, so these will be available from me. I don't have the link up just yet, but if you want a Kleeman album, I should have the link up on my blog site today. By the time you see this video, you'll be able to buy Kleeman albums again from me if you're interested. In other music related news, I have a couple of used records to show that I picked up. Jesse Cundiff is another VC member who lives in Omaha and sometimes makes videos. Jesse's a real decent, simple man. He is. I just really like Jesse. And he's just a real honest guy, and he loves doo-wop and the blues and old, stuff that I don't want to listen to, but Jesse and I are becoming good friends. He and a friend of his are opening up a used record shop in an antique store. Now, he's done this before, and the guy that he was working with before was a shyster. This setup looks good. So he opens officially tomorrow, but I went down for a visit Tuesday, and I like it. I like Jesse's energy, and I hope that the shop is successful. I picked up some records though. He had shown in the BC where he had found a copy of this, and then I mentioned it, and he said he'd hold it for me. Lord, Such and Heavy Friends. Now, this is an album that I've always wanted, not because I think the record is good, but because of what it is. Lord Such was a character, I don't know if he's still alive in England. I think he comes from nobility, had money, had title, and, all the names of rock work with him. The Yardbirds, Jeff Beck, Jimmy Page, members of Jimi Hendrix Band. They all play on this album. There's only a couple of decent tracks on here, but I've always wanted a copy of this for my Jeff Beck collection, and because it's on Cotillion. I've never wanted it to pay a good price for it, you know. I did pay, I think Jesse gave it to me for $8, and that's a nice price. It's in decent shape. So he held this for me. I got this from Jesse. I played it. I've already played it all the way through, and like I say, it's a period piece for me. This is really this is not very good in my opinion. You know, he could afford to make the record, and so he did. This is good. Big Black. If you're digging what you're doing, keep on doing what you're digging. Big Black on Uni. I'm collecting Uni when I can. By that I mean, you know, I can't dedicatedly collect the Uni label, but when I can, I get it. Isn't that one of the coolest labels? Universal Music. Big Black is a master of the conga. He's played with everyone, from Sun Ra to Dizzy Gillespie to Nina Simone. If you look him up, and I did look him up to see what he's done recently. There's a documentary that's supposed to be being made about him, and you get to see him play live. Man, it's amazing. This album, if you cherry pick this album, it's good. Not every song on this album I can listen to. There's a couple of really excellent tracks on here that are just percussion workouts. Just excellent. Big Black. This album probably came out in 1970. 1971. Thank you, Jesse, for getting this in for me. Big Black. And his congregation. For you folks that dig rare grooves and funk and just black music in general, here's one for you, okay? Here's one for you. Big Black. Van Secca Funk, you know about Big Black because he's got a couple records on Sagittarius A Star. And I'd like to get a hold of some of those. Well, I think about it, Van. Congratulations on your first year anniversary of your marriage. I saw the pictures on Facebook. I see the pictures periodically on Facebook. Van, you look happy. Your wife looks fantastic. I'm happy for you, man. You know, it's not meant for everybody. You know, just because I'm not married and because I say the things I say. Don't get me wrong. I see the beauty in life, and I see the beauty in finding someone and being together. It's just very difficult for me. I'm just glad I'm not jealous anymore. You know, this is my path. I used to get really depressed about it when I was young, like most people. There's nobody for me. That wasn't true. It wasn't true at all. Okay. Congratulations, Secca Funk, and many more happy years of marriage. Three more records. This one I picked up for sentimental reasons. Mercury Records presents Zigzag Festival. This is one of those samplers that the record labels put out, you know, to introduce product. And this one was riding on the emerging rock festival vibe, Woodstock, Glastonbury, Reading, all that stuff. This album, I got this as a teen. I think this came out in 1970. This is back when I couldn't afford records, and so it was a big deal to get a record, and I had to think really hard, you know, to make the money stretch. So this was a sampler, so it was at a reduced price, brand new. So I probably got this brand new for maybe $1.70 or something. It was my introduction to David Bowie. This is when I first heard David Bowie. Was on this album. Space Oddity is the track. Space Oddity is on this album. That was out of all these artists on this album, that one spoke to me the most. And to this day, I just listened to this all the way through again. With that in mind, retrospect, it's like, because even then, as a kid, I'm really consistent. Even as a kid, I thought to myself, as I listened to this album, David Bowie's Space Oddity really stood out. It's like, man, why isn't there more music like this on here? Most of the music on this album is blues-based, gospel, roots-based. Even as a kid, I thought to myself, why is this music so popular? Why does everyone want to listen to this music? I've always thought that. It's like, this other music is so much more interesting and imaginative. Why is everybody stuck in the mud? It's a consistent thought that I've had and feeling. So it ain't nothing new. But when I saw this, at Jesse's store, it's in great shape. He had several other records actually that I wanted, actually more than this. But I passed up getting a replacement copy for this over the years many, many times. And I finally said to myself, something, this has a lot of sentimental value to me. And I just would like to have it again, mainly to just relive, all that. And listen to the whole album. And to this day, for my taste, the most interesting thing on this album is David Bowie. Here's the other bands on the album: Blue Mink, Blue Cheer, Screaming Jay Hawkins, Rod Stewart, Mother Earth, Joe Cocker, Coven, Sir Douglas Quintet, Big Mama Thornton, QB and the Blizzards, Jesse Collin and the Youngbloods. Even Fort Mudge Memorial Dump had a song on here. And Jerry Lee Lewis. Out of all those artists, David Bowie stood, and to me still, the song completely stands out on this album. It's so unique and original. It's always what I've been looking for in music. Originality, things that spark my interest, and I know about the song of the everyday man. I understand that. I understand the simpleness of life. I want to hear something interesting. I want to hear something imaginative. David Bowie was the ticket. I bought one more record I wasn't planning on, but they gave it to me for like $5. Jesse's partner, Doug, look how long this video is. I'm going to keep going. Doug was cleaning records, and he said, well, what is this record about, Dereck? Menace Doghouse. It's produced by Bill Laswell and Keith LeBlanc. Now, I didn't know. I told him I don't know. I know about this record, but I have not heard it. This is probably funk. It might be R&B. It might be fairly commercial. But I told him, due to all the musicians on this album, this fits in my collection, and so I bought it. And it's not bad. It sounds a bit dated, but it's R&B. But everyone's on here. Bootsy is on here. Bill Laswell, Nikki Scopolitis, Aib Dayeng, Jason Cursaro, all the names. So it's really well done, and it fits my collection. So I'm glad I have it. But Jesse blew me away because I spotted an album that hadn't been priced yet or cleaned yet. I said, what is this? An original copy of The Last Poets. He gave it to me because it's beat and it's warped. It plays. It's warped. This is an original. I don't know how many editions on Douglas came out, but my older sister, Stephanie, bought this when it came out. Hers was on Douglas, but I remember hers was on Douglas with a blue label. So I think she had the very first edition. But this album was extremely controversial when it came out. It would even be controversial today because of the use of the N-word, and also because of the stark portrayal of life in the inner city. It did not paint a pretty picture. It talked about the bullshit nature of a lot of black people. It talked about the madness of the system, and it doesn't cut any corners. To this day, this album is very relevant. So Jesse, thank you so much for this. Man, it's 25 minutes. It's gonna take this video all day to upload, and I've got much more I'd like to talk about, but I'm gonna leave it there. I'm probably gonna make another video to remind folks that I got records for sale. But getting back to the memory of Jack, the last thing I want to say is I do want to make a commentary. I wish I could indict the pharmacology industry, because people with mental illness that take medication, it has been shown statistically they die younger, and the reason why they die younger is due to the treatments mostly that they're taking. Now I can imagine at least one family member seeing this and having a fit, saying, my son, my daughter, my brother, my husband, my wife was helped. Some people are helped, but a lot of people our lives are ruined by just getting on medication and blowing up and gaining weight and becoming slugs, and the industry gets rich. I was there. I remember there were industry reps from the pharmacology departments coming through every now and then with their new products and all the swag that they would give to the administration, and all the bullshit that they would give us, literally encouraging us to push the drugs to the psychiatrist. I was there. I was part of it. And then, I won't say one of the drugs, but then years later, here come all these lawsuits from one of the drugs that the reps were pushing. Come to find out it's causing people to commit suicide and all this crazy shit. That stuff's fucked up. So I don't regret not having a job in the mental health system. I don't regret not having a steady paycheck, because my mission continues. I continue to be a real person, supportive of my fellow human beings, and I try to do things with love, not for the dollar.